So the first question is, please introduce yourself. Tell us briefly what is the one big idea that motivates your campaign, and why does this even matter to the people of District 22?
Thank you, Desiree. My name's Ricardo Franco. I am a fourth generation Mexican American with family history going back to Fresno and Dinuba for more than 100 years. But I am the last generation in my family to actually know Spanish from birth, and the only member in that generation. But I am the first generation to not have to grow up picking anything out in the fields, and was privileged enough to be able to actually devote all of my time for studies. Not too far from here, Dinuba, California, is where my mother grew up, but she was born in abject poverty and was told she could not go to college because she was a woman and because she was brown. Years later, she would retire as director of admissions at Fresno State. And that's possible because of how great this country already is. And that's the America that I know and believe in, and I'm fighting for that opportunity for every single person here in this district. As a businessman, I've been in the private sector for more than 10 years, and I have grown and expanded business right here in the Central Valley during the Great Recession. And so I know what it's going to take to go into Congress and actually get things done to improve the lives of everybody in here, and to make sure that I will always listen to every single one of you, whether you vote for me or not, or you cannot even vote, to make sure that we will get progressive issues pushed here and accomplished.
Thank you, Mr. Franco. We're going to move on to the next question. We are going to rotate. We are going to start with Mr. Franco here. Okay? Let's see. Question number 2. People in this district are very concerned about healthcare, and half of the people in this district depend on Medi-Cal. District 22 suffers from higher than average rates of heart disease, diabetes, and asthma, among other conditions. What kind of healthcare plan will you advocate in Congress? What is at least one piece of legislation you will work on to get us to your vision? And why do you believe this is the best solution?
3 words: Medicare for all. Universal single-payer health care, which I can tell you as an employer, being in the position to actually have to provide health care and decide what's best for my employees is ethically just wrong. I cringed every time that we had to do that as a business. Being someone who that now pays for it out of pocket, more than $500 a month, you take that burden off of people. That's a car payment. That's part of a savings for a down payment on a house, and it'll actually spur the economy up. So I would actually support Conyers' bill to actually put Medicare for all in there. In terms of health, though, health is not just Medicare coverage. It's access to actual quality, healthy, affordable foods. And we have to make sure that some of our communities that are suffering from diabetes and heart disease have access to what it actually takes to live a healthy lifestyle, and that their communities are actually safe enough to make sure that they're afforded the opportunity for exercise outdoors as well. That's street lighting, making sure we don't have too many stray dogs in the area as well. But those are the things that I would focus on to begin with.
Thank you, Mr. Franco. Next question. The Central Valley and District 22 continue to lag behind in economic indicators as compared to areas north and south of us. What workable and specific plan do you have for economic growth in the district? How can we encourage economic growth that will benefit all and that protects the needs and rights of workers? Lastly, Mr. Franco.
Yeah, good things I've heard tonight on this panel, and I think I'm in agreement with most of the things, especially with what Mr. Merriam had said. Education must be affordable, but it must also be relevant to our growing economy, which is going green. We have to invest in green technology and use, not just for the betterment of the environment, but because if we don't, China and India will pass us up. Doing a lot of work in Silicon Valley, I can also tell you that $90,000 a year in salary still qualifies you for low-income housing in San Mateo County. So if we want to see that kind of economic growth, like you alluded to, Desiree, we have to make sure that it's also equitable. So we have to look at economic inequality and address that right here in the Central Valley. I want to bring a full research-based medical school here to the Central Valley, just like UCLA or UC Davis, to help diversify the economy. But guess what? I can't do that unless we can prove where that water is coming from for that facility and where we're going to store it. And all these new people who are going to come and flock to Fresno, if we can't build new housing for them because we have no water, rents will skyrocket. In the city of Fresno, 51% of the homes are not owner-occupied. I know. because I'm one of those that's a landlord and charging probably a market price right now for rent that is about equivalent to a mortgage payment. Why? Because in the economy we're in right now, people cannot afford to save for down payments for a house. We can continue to go this route for the next 30 years, and by the time I'm 65, there will be no retirement for people in my generation. Education will be out of reach for people, and we won't exactly know what to do with our planet now for the rest of our kids going forward. So these are the issues I want to address in Congress.
Thank you. Okay, next question. After the recent sexual harassment and assault revelations that have captured the attention of the nation these past few months, women's issues have been at the forefront. What concrete steps will you take as a congressional representative to assist women in achieving equality at work, making assault and harassment reporting easier for women and consequential for perpetrators, as well as retaining control over their reproductive lives? We are going to start with Mr. Franklin.
There's a couple things that we can look at right off the bat. Number one, in California now, it is not permissible to actually base somebody's salary when hiring them based upon salary history. And that starts to get rid of the wage discrimination that we have, and we can push that nationwide. But we also have a major crisis right now in which rape kits are not getting tested. So people who are victims of sexual assault undergo extensive, intrusive exams in order to try and seek justice, and when they are not tested, when are they ever going to see that justice? So we need to put a limit on that immediately. Allowing more people to go through Title IX, especially our young students, instead of just directly to the local authorities, is another way to open the door and that possibility to make it more friendly, to encourage people to report when these things happen. And last but not least, I want to highlight, these are not just issues for women, but also our LGBTQ community as well. And we have to remember that as we go forward in looking and applying these to people.
Next question. What is your stance on gun control? And describe a specific piece of legislation that you would support that will prevent the type of frightening mass shootings as we've seen yesterday that occurred with increasing frequency across our country. Do you accept campaign contributions from the NRA? What is your rationale?
You know, yesterday I was surrounded by students at Fresno State in front of our bishop for Ash Wednesday services, sitting there praying. Afterwards, we break bread. And learn that the NRA has 17 more pairs of cold, dead hands on their conscience. And it cannot happen anymore. I am a gun owner. I do not accept money from the NRA, and I have never supported the NRA. The only thing the NRA has ever given me as a gun owner is higher ammo prices from some fake idea that the government's going to come and steal their guns. Government can't even get clean drinking water here to people. How in the world do you expect them to actually get you guns? And we have to start making sure we do not vote for people in Congress anymore that take money from the NRA. They don't represent gun owners, only the gun and ammo manufacturers. And we just start putting people in the office that actually give a damn about our kids in school and to show that our children cannot be bought. Those children in Florida are the same children that we have in Sandy Hook, the same ones in Orlando, and here in California, Fresno, Visalia, Parlier, Orosi, Cutler, Woodlake, Reedley. The time to stop is now. We have better, sensible laws here in California, and we start by pushing that model to the rest of the country.
Valley employers are having difficulty finding employees. The White House is proposing a border wall. Immigration issues such as these are important for constituents of the district. What immigration reform legislation do you support for undocumented immigrants that are already here and for immigrants wanting to settle or work in our area?
Pass a Clean Dream Act now. 85% of the country approves that they should get legal status. Why would you ever use that as a bargaining chip? As a businessman, when you come in here and you agree and you know what's right, you just get it done. You don't say, well, wait a minute. In that argument, let's argue something else. No, get it done and keep them here. As Bill said, they are the best of the best that we have. We also have 3,000 deported American veterans worldwide, and I have met with them in Mexico, and I have sat in the homes of dreamers. And if I ever hear anybody else tell me one more time what part of illegal and they broke the law do you not understand, Rico, it used to be legal for a white man to own a black man in this country. And so what I tell you is that laws without morals are useless. And we need to change the laws in this country to reflect what it is that we hold true in our hearts and in our minds. And as far as bringing new, the question was about legal immigration to this country, we have to let our businesses decide. The difference between skilled and unskilled is completely arbitrary. I know people who do not have any formal education that have the work ethic of a mule that are more valuable to other people I know that stood next to me in the halls of an Ivy League university. So we leave it up to the businesses and the markets to decide who we're going to bring in there. But it starts with passing a Clean Dream Act. If we can't get that done, then what are we going to do with everybody else in the future?
The Central Valley, and District 22 in particular, struggle to provide clean air and water for all residents. We have some of the dirtiest air and water in the entire nation. What are one of two specific steps you will take to ensure every Valley resident can breathe the air and drink the water in our homes?
So to address the air quality in here, one of the things I always say is regulatory bodies and government need to stop just fining businesses, but actually assisting them to comply with some of these regulations. But thinking outside the box, we could plant 1 million trees here in the Central Valley and see the mountains every single day. We've got new species of trees designed exactly to do this that are doing it right now over in China and in India. And guess what? That's where the actual global leaders are in clean energy. Remember I told you we have to invest in that technology? We've got to do it right here in the Central Valley. Helping our business, especially in agriculture, start to utilize more clean energy techniques is what the federal government needs to step in and do. Because I'll tell you, as a businessman, we all know the latest and greatest technology is usually expensive. And if you can't afford it, it's not going to make sense to adopt it. So we need to step in with the market to make sure that it makes sense for people to adopt these things. And we also, going back to that medical school I want to bring, put in more studies for things like asthma and valley fever that we face right here in the Central Valley that are epidemics for us.
Voter suppression and election interference have been a big topic for many concerned citizens. How would you combat disenfranchisement and increase voter turnout at elections, while also protecting the votes we cast?
Yeah, we need to look at doing more audits, actually, of votes across the country. Right now, it's just so broken down by states, there's not a consistency in it. We live in America where people are more mobile, people who come from different states, and then when you go for the first time to vote in a different state, it can feel very, very different. But some of those voting machines actually that are electronic do create a paper trail that is auditable. And we need to make sure that they are open source voting machines because they're a lot easier to prevent hacking and to actually track in the code to see if anybody has gotten into them. We do need to make it a holiday. Voting is something that should be made easier for the American people because it's our only way to actually put forth our voice and our ideals behind the candidates that we actually support. But if all the candidates are actually going to be on equal footing to get their message out, we have to take the money out of politics. We have to put in legislation that reverses the Citizens United decision on the Supreme Court and look at different ways of doing this. And so I think that alone will inspire people to actually have more faith in their government and in their system to finally come out and vote so that they know that they will be voting for a government that will work for them.
Compromises are the bedrock of widely supported past legislation in Congress, yet productive collaborators across the aisle are currently short supply. What are the values or guidelines you will use to determine when you will compromise, when you will stand your ground, and when you will try workarounds to get your constituents' needs?
Well, I got into this race because I believe at this point in time, what is in my heart resonates a lot with what's in the hearts of people in this valley that I know and love. And I'm not naive to think that that's going to last forever, maybe 8, 12 years. And when that time comes, I'll change, or the constituency will change. It's going to be time for somebody else to occupy that seat. But those values that I hold dear, you can go to my website, ricofranco.com, to learn a lot more about me as well, too, are things that I will fight and to champion for the people right here in this room and throughout the rest of the district. But I'll tell you, as a businessman, I've been in sales for more than a decade. compromises everything that we do. And the new way that we do business is through transparency to make sure that we all come out a winner, and that means knowing how to actually reach across the aisle. Let's face it, the position that we're running for, you can't do anything by yourself. This is not an executive position. You need a majority out of more than 400 members of Congress to get something done. This is a sales position. So when I look at our little slice of California, I know that it doesn't look like other parts in the North and the South, but it will look like little parts in Wisconsin, Grand Island, Nebraska, Joliet, Illinois, and Hamilton, Montana. And we can find that common ground right there to make sure that we can enact bills in Congress that will benefit the rest of our country as a whole. Look, again, ricofranco.com is where you can find a lot more of my issues. People will look at those issues and say, my goodness, that's too progressive for the Central Valley. No, it's not. It's not. We need to do things like enact Medicare for all, and we need to do things to push for a clean environment if we want this country to go back to give people my generation the same opportunities like my mother and her generations had before, with the promise of the American dream. 400 plus members in Congress. Millennials are 18 to 35. Do you know how many millennials are in Congress? 5. This year they will be the largest voting bloc in this country and surpass baby boomers. So it's time that we get younger and fresher faces out there and not wait until they've climbed the political ranks of being in city council and county supervisor, then state, to go on to the federal level to advocate for the issues that are important and crucial for us as survival as Americans going forward when you look at the future. For those of you that are Democrats, and I'm a fellow Democrat, we need to step up our game and not be afraid to message these ideas that will actually help the people here if we are to be the party of working class folks right here in the Valley, no matter what those issues are. And instead of stop talking about how or who can actually win, figure out who should win and what are the ideas that should win to help every single one of us, whether we are Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, American Solidarity, or no party preference. That's what this election is about. Don't forget, the election is not in November. It's in June. And so we have to drive people out. Oh yeah, see? See? June 5th, right? Tuesday, June 5th. You can start getting mail-out ballots before then. But these are the things that we're confronting right now, and that's what my campaign is pushing forward, just a general outreach on this. Again, as a businessman, I've had to make a lot of different decisions, and I know how to make good decisions now, informed decisions, when you have inaccurate information or no information at all. I was 22 when I came back here after college, and I was put in charge of 33 employees from the ages of 25 to 79. And as I expanded that through the Great Recession and to the national level, which had more than 250 employees at one point in time, I can tell you that it's a big, big country out there. You guys already know the differences between the Central Valley and the Bay Area and LA, and I have seen those. And I know how to actually get things done that reflect the values that we hold here in the Central Valley. And with the short time that I have left, I do want to thank my other fellow candidates that are up here tonight to take the time to come out and talk to you. Like I said, the vote is in June, and I hope you will be voting for one of the 4 of us that actually took the courtesy to come out here to Reedley and to show that these smaller communities are not forgotten. And if I do earn your vote, I would love to be your voice and your face for the new America to come, which will have a government that works for us.